Welcome to the Wine Atelier podcast, your insider's guide to mastering wine with certified sommelier Stephanie Miskew. Welcome to episode 25 of the Wine Atelier podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Miskew, and my guest on today's show is the fabulous Rita Jammet, Chief Bubble Officer of Caravelle Champagne, who's going to get us very excited about sparkling rosé this summer. Welcome to the show, Rita.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled.
Absolutely.
We can be together on the digital space.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love the virtual world of wine.
Absolutely.
It's a good thing. So, and I'm super excited to jump right into our topic today of sparkling rosé. And it's the perfect time for it. It's like 100 degrees out here.
Yeah.
But before we dive into that, I would love for you to share with everybody listening a little bit about how the La Caravelle Champagne line came to be. You have such a fascinating history. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. My husband Andre and I owned the restaurant La Caravelle in New York City, which was an iconic place.
Yeah.
The restaurant was established in 1960, not by us, but we bought the restaurant in two stages, starting in 1984,
Yeah.
and then we owned it for the last 20 years of its life. In 2004, after 9/11 came about, this was kind of an indirect consequence. We came to the conclusion it was best to close. However, in 97, we decided to introduce our own cuvée of champagne as an extra hospitality amenity, because it's like hospitality. People come to your place and you want to make them as happy as possible, and we figured, how can we make them even happier? Well, champagne. There we go. Champagne was the answer for us.
Absolutely.
So Andre and I have always been very enamored with champagne, and we could share our love for champagne with our guests, and it was a great success. At some point, our guests asked us, where can we buy the champagne? Since we weren't allowed to sell it on the spot,
right.
We made arrangement with Morel, who was carrying the champagne. So fast track a few years later, after we close, I'm starting to think, what am I going to do? I don't want to leave the hospitality world because it's my environment, it's my world.
Totally.
So our friends and family and guests were encouraging me to work on the champagne, and then I thought, actually, that might be the solution. For both the requirements. I wanted to stay in the industry and love champagne. So here we go. It was not an easy road because it's a very different premise. The brand was a restaurant brand, and now extending it to a champagne brand. The champagne world being pretty closed also. But, I'm very persistent. People who know me know that I want something, I'll just do not whatever it takes, as much as I can.
Right, exactly.
And so I don't mind needing time to do something. And it did take, I would say, for us to get in the black, it did take like a good 8-9 years. So it's not for the faint of heart, but it was really it's a great adventure, and still I'm living it now.
That's just the word I was thinking. What an amazing adventure, and what a beautiful continuation of your iconic James Beard Award nominated restaurant in New York City. And I hear some pretty glamorous people used to frequent your restaurant.
Oh my gosh!
Who was that?
From royalty to fashion to we had Jackie Kennedy. The Kennedy family has been very instrumental in the success of La Caravelle from day one, and then till the very end, till Jackie, till her last days, she was coming to La Caravelle.
Wow.
We had Pavarotti. We had so many, a lot of royalty come in. Big business people, fashion, Oscar de la Renta. We had Alice Tully, who decided to build and name her Alice Tully Hall at La Caravelle.
Oh my God.
During a meal at La Caravelle. Yeah, there's some historic, interesting things. And Salvador Dali made we call it the famous damage, because he had his cane. And where he was sitting, there was a mural behind him. We had beautiful murals of Paris streets and parks.
Mm.
And at some point, his cane hits the mural, and I mean, not a big,
Oh
it was
my
a
God.
little dent.
Yeah.
So we call it the famous damage.
Absolutely. That was like a work of art on
I
your
know,
wall.
she had
Oh my
signed it, but
God. That's amazing. Like,
yeah,
was there one person you were like the most starstruck? Because I imagine after a while you probably got kind of used to all of these like famous people, but was there one person that you felt like particularly starstruck by or?
that's a great question. A lot of these people came before my time,
Okay.
but you know, when Walter Cronkite, each
Oh,
time
wow.
he came actually on the last night he was there
Wow. Oh my
with
gosh.
Andy Rooney,
Yeah.
and they, you know, Walter Cronkite was very just an amazing human being and
Oh
such
yeah.
comforting, warm, and
Mm.
gentle. And he had actually celebrated his family, you know, holidays or birthdays, anniversaries at La
Yeah.
Caravelle. So he would
Wow.
introduce us and saying, I can talk in front of 6 million people, etc., but I don't know the first thing about hosting an event. So
Oh
for this, I
wow.
turned to Rita and Andre. That was so
Amen.
special, so special.
Wow. And right, you're so on point when it comes to hospitality. I mean, clearly it's like a gift, you know, you can only teach that so much, but I mean, it just, from the moment I met you, you're just such a gracious, fantastic woman. So anyway,
Thank you so much.
yeah, well, how exciting. I know. Okay, so again, that brings us to La Caravelle, your line of champagnes. And how many champagnes are in your line?
We actually have three champagnes. We have
Mm-hmm.
the Cuvée Nina, which is our brut.
Okay.
Cuvée Nina is a blend of 40% Chardonnay, 30 Pinot Meunier, and Pinot Noir, the three
Gotcha.
traditional grapes of Champagne.
Wonderful.
And it's aged for 2 years on the lees, and it's
Mm-hmm.
very food friendly. This is a very important point because for us being restaurateurs, the
Yeah.
food part had to be very important, and we wanted our champagnes to be very easy to marry with all kinds of flavors and textures and spices, whatever you name it. We
Yeah.
wanted that.
What
So
a wonderful background to have to really kind of inform the type of champagne you produce. I mean,
yes,
that's so wonderful. And that's another reason I'm so excited to have you here. Because, right, because what I love to pair food and wine. And so many people, a lot of people out there don't realize they think of champagne for like, right, celebrations or as an aperitif. But I
yes,
mean, one of my favorite things on the planet is rosé champagne and steak.
yes,
It's just
absolutely,
delicious. Like the bubbles
absolutely.
almost act like
Yes,
tannins kind
this
of to
this
me.
is
But
definitely a big myth to debunk that
yeah,
champagne is only for celebration and only for certain kind of food. You know,
yeah,
our elders in Champagne didn't get to travel as we do now. They're not exposed to the global world like we
yeah.
are now. So they always said champagne is best with fish, shellfish, and white meats. Well,
Mm,
once the globalization happened and all these different cuisines were available to
yeah.
us everywhere, basically, we made some pretty startling discoveries, which would have probably made those elders spin in their grave.
Yeah, maybe just a little.
Just a little bit. So, just like you were saying, you know, rosé and barbecue, steak,
Yeah.
charcuterie,
Mm,
you name it. Also, yeah, hamburgers, and it's amazing. With all three champagnes, actually, it was interesting.
awesome.
Everyone brings a different spin to it.
Yeah.
So, in addition to the
Fascinating.
Cuvée Nina, we have
Mm,
Blanc de Blanc. This
mm,
literally means white of whites, meaning
yeah.
it's made only with the white grape in Champagne, which is Chardonnay.
Yeah.
And this is aged for 3 years on the lees, so
Oh,
it's got
wow.
beautiful notes of toasted brioche
Mm.
and almonds and pain d'épices and gingerbread. It's just very beautiful.
So special.
It's the simplicity of one grape, but there's a complexity that develops, which is just beautiful.
Absolutely. And for anyone out there who is interested in kind of learning more about sparkling wine, there's nothing like champagne. I know a lot of people offer Prosecco and it's very popular, but if you want to learn more about sparkling wine, champagne, there's just nothing else like it.
I mean, it's an art.
It
People
is,
don't realize
yes.
how what it took for a bottle of champagne that's in
Yeah.
your hands, what it took to get there.
Yes.
You know, the time, the money, the artistry of it, because it's an art. When
Yeah.
you see the blenders in Champagne, the winemakers, I don't know what kind of brain or sensory bank they have, but
Yeah.
it's akin to a very complex computer. They can taste up to 700-800 different wines and blend them. It's the art of blending and remembering what each wine will bring to the blend. To me, that's pure. I mean, it's mastery.
It really is.
Artistry,
Absolutely.
and it's you know, so all that know-how and the fact that the champagne has to age before you can release it. The minimum by law is 15 months. But a lot of champagnes age longer, and then of course, when you have the vintage, they'll age even longer.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah. So, and for everybody listening, in the show notes, I'm going to put a link to my article on the details of what goes into making a bottle of champagne. I think many of you, as Rita kind of alluded to, are going to be pretty surprised. So, so now let's jump into rosé specifically. And I have your beautiful, beautiful rosé here. Thank you so much for sending it to me.
Of course. I just wanted to speak the same language, you know.
Yes, of course. I love that. And so what is it about rosé? You know, it's almost like not just a wine, it's like a feeling. What is it about rosé that makes it so special, do you think? And that kind of elicits something that other wines just don't?
I think rosé, first of all, obviously the color. The color is, I like to call it double magic because cheers.
Yes, cheers, my dear.
So first you have the magic of the bubbles, but then in the rosé you have that enchanting color that'll transport you. I mean, it lifts up the morale. It's a party in a bottle. And I think even though traditionally rosé is for summer, quote unquote, we're finding now that rosé can be enjoyed all year round. And you can travel throughout the world with rosé because you can find rosés from everywhere with such different styles, different hues of color, and flavors as well.
Right. So to embrace you kind of encourage people to like embrace all the different colors of rosé, right? And embrace all the different grapes that are used to make. I know people seem to think sparkling rosé, they're all the same. They have, I mean, and when in fact bubbles is about the only thing they have in common. Different regions, different grapes, right?
Definitely. Which brings me to the Rosé Champagne. There are two main ways of making Rosé Champagne. One is by bleeding, the bleeding or the blending method. Bleeding is, you know, that there's red grapes in Champagne blends. So Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, one or both. When they leave the grapes a little longer to macerate, the color in the skin will seep through the wine and impart this beautiful color. Obviously, depending on how long they leave the skins, the deeper the color. You don't want to go too far with it because you also don't want to bring in too many tannins.
Right. I would imagine that's a fine line.
Yes. So that's one. Or the other one is the way La Caravelle is made is by blending. So basically, they take the same blend as the Cuvée Nina, the Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, and they blend in some still Pinot Noir wine. Amazing. Which is just about the only place in the world where legally you're allowed to mix white and red and get rosé.
Yeah.
So, and then it's aged for 2 years.
2 years after that, prior to release. Yes. Gotcha. And where do our grapes come from that go into this particular wine? Which regions in Champagne? So
the Pinot Noir come from Haï and Bouzy.
Okay.
Then you have the Chardonnay comes from the Côte des Blancs. And then that's Pinot Noir. There's a Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier. They each have their regions, although you have those grapes in different regions. But the Montagne de Reims and the Aube are where you find these beautiful red.
I just wanted to hear your beautiful accent pronounce those beautiful terms. Well, and I must say, it's just a charming, beautiful rosé champagne. Beautiful notes of red berries, that beautiful kind of biscuity brioche note, and like the strawberry jam on the brioche
even pomegranate toast. Depending on
pomegranate and a little hint of ginger, like yes, really, really delicious. And then I also wanted to ask you, because you've clearly been making champagne for quite a while. and have known about just regular rosé for a very long time. When the quote unquote rosé revolution kind of started a few years ago, were you surprised by that? Like, what was your reaction to that? How all of a sudden kind of rosé, went from
I
kind of
think
white Zinfandel to like, Provençal rosé everywhere. What do you think of that?
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm a very open person, and I like to taste and try and learn.
Yeah.
But rosé did have a very bad rap for many years.
Yes.
And also, I remember when we were talking about rosé, even at La Caravelle, Rosé Champagne, I was being dismissed by several by saying, men will never drink a pink beverage. Well, that's not so.
Right.
So.
It's like a
But
code of honor now when I see
yeah,
guys drinking like Provençal rosé like it's nothing, when a few years ago it was like a look of horror if you came at them with the pink wine.
exactly. You were not taken seriously. Nor was the
Exactly.
wine, actually. And
True.
then, I think when in Provence they started to make rosé, obviously they used the bleeding method, the red grapes to make the rosé.
Yeah.
I think people started to the very pale blush color. I think people started to like, oh, what is this? They'd be interested in it.
Yes.
And then it started to open up. And then, as I was saying, it conjures such a feeling of vacation, happiness, and almost nonchalance, and do nothing, and relaxing time, party time.
Absolutely. Yes.
So
Right. A
that
feeling of
helped.
relaxation. Right. Once you got them to try it,
Exactly.
it was, right. It's almost like, in addition to the wine itself being fantastic, it's almost like it was kind of a lifestyle that came with it, right? Like the
Absolutely.
carefree, like you said, the
Yes.
Saint-Tropez, south of France.
Exactly. Even though there are some very high quality rosés, they don't take themselves seriously, which is another thing that's unintimidating, if you want.
Very
Which is really,
true.
yeah.
You're exactly right. It kind of took any pretense, right? Because wine can be intimidating for people.
Depending, and it's a shame, because at the end of the day, you should be drinking what makes you happy, and what makes me happy is not necessarily what makes someone else happy. So as long as you find what you love, go for it.
I love that you say that. I'm all about helping people to empower their palates. Because I'll have people come up to me and say, tell me what wine to drink. And it's like, I can guide you. We guide people. But right, ultimately, they have to make the decision and ultimately drink what they like. I love that message.
Yes,
That's
actually, I started to write a column for Rachel Ray in magazine. I'm so excited.
How exciting. That's
and my
great.
first piece was like exactly about that topic, about don't worry, don't get intimidated. Just learn what you like and go for it.
What a great message.
Open your mind, and because there's no reason why you should be intimidated by something, a beverage that's supposed to be Epicurean and bring you joy.
Exactly.
At the end of the day,
we need to, what would Rita do? What would Rita drink? Right. Exactly. Drink what you like, drink what makes you happy. Especially now, I think that's so important, especially now.
What you can afford. Not only, I mean, you can find amazing, very inexpensive wines. You really can.
Very true.
Wines that are really well made, and like the second labels or something. Sometimes you really find finds.
Yeah, absolutely. And we touched on it earlier, but I wanted to kind of find out from you, what dishes, do you have any favorite pairings for your Rosé Champagne? Any specific sharings you would like to, or pairings you'd like to share to kind of guide people?
Absolutely. I like to have red meats with it.
Yeah.
Yes. Chips, pizza with sausage in it.
Oh gosh.
Because the cheese, and as the traditional pairing ways, there's two approaches. Either you harmonize or you contrast.
Yes.
Champagne will be a lot of times contrast, because when you're eating something that's pretty rich and fatty, the bubbles, the acidity, and the chill temperature will counteract the fatness and the richness. But the notes, given that there's some red wine components in here, it will also match the level of intensity, because you have to have balance at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Right. And having that rosé component does make it more versatile.
Yes.
makes it more readily paired with many different foods. And how about glassware? What do you think about glassware to drink champagne
I'm
out
very
of?
opinionated about that.
Are you? Oh, share. We can't wait.
Okay. So traditionally, it's the coupe or the flute.
Uh-huh.
I'm shying away from flutes altogether because
Yeah.
they don't allow you to smell the bouquet of
Yes.
the champagne, which is a wine, exactly, and you need it
Yes.
to develop enough to open up. Also, the coupe. The coupe. The only time I like a coupe is when you do a tower, a champagne tower. That's
Yes.
it.
Yeah. It's
Drinking
good
out of a
for
coupe
show.
for me is a big like not a pleasant moment because you put
Yeah.
your nose on it and you get like a shower of fritz that you don't necessarily want, and
Yeah.
you don't smell the wine at all.
Right. And it seems like the bubbles go away a lot faster in a coupe,
Totally. So,
right?
and it's so, I mean, you can spill it so easily, and it's like not so good.
Yeah.
My favorite is the tulip shape. Tulip shape, which you have here. This is
Oh,
a Zalto.
perfect.
This is the Zalto, which is a bit more angular, but the shape you
Oh,
see.
I love Zalto.
Yeah,
Zalto. I'll
Zalto.
link that up in the show notes for everybody listening as well. Just fantastic glasses.
And it weighs like 3 grams, and it's
Ugh.
there's some beautiful wine glasses being made. If you don't have it, I want to come back to this. You see the bottom part, ideally
Yeah.
the bottom part of the best champagne glass is
Mm-hmm.
is kind of pointy, sort of pointy,
Yes,
so that
tapered.
the bubbles, and they put little asperities in the bottom of the glass so
I've
that the
heard that.
bubbles
Yeah.
are encouraged to form.
Yeah.
And
That's
this is for
amazing.
me the ideal. And then you have enough of an openness, and then slight narrowing on the top, so that allows
Mm-hmm.
you to, you know,
Right. It kind of
indulge
focuses the
in
aromas at the top of the glass so you can really enjoy them. Especially when you have a wine as beautiful as this. I mean, I like to linger on the nose of the
yes,
wine. It's
yes,
so enjoyable. It
yes.
really is. I know, especially this one. Just fantastic.
Also, if you don't have such a tulip glass, or an all-purpose or a white wine glass will work perfectly. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, again,
True.
whatever makes you
What you
happy.
have on hand. I tell people these are Andrea Emma
Yes,
Robinson's, the one,
all in one. Yes,
which are our go-to kind of glass, and they make a one for white and one for red,
beautiful.
but they
Yeah,
work
Andreas has been one
tremendously
of the
well.
first ones to come up with these glasses.
What?
Now
What'd
you
you say?
have Andrea was one of the first
Oh,
to come up
right.
with all in one. Yeah,
Yeah.
one
Yeah,
purpose
she's
glass.
pretty awesome, that's for sure.
She's amazing. She's
Yes,
amazing.
she
There's
certainly
also Jancis
is.
Robinson also came out with a
Yes, she did. I haven't
very
tried hers yet.
it's a little bit she's probably not gonna like me saying that, but it's probably the same style as the Zalto, but a little rounder. Zalto
Okay,
has that a bit modern, not geometric, but almost shape.
gotcha.
Whereas the Jancis Robinson glass is really good. There's a new brand that I got also
Oh,
recently called the Gabrielle glass.
oh, I haven't heard of that one.
Yes,
Gabrielle.
it's a Swiss glass maker, and it's really good.
Okay, great. I'll link that up in the show notes for those of
Yeah,
you who will want to know where to get that
it's good to
as
have
well.
options, you know.
Yeah. Oh, it always is. And I know. Thank you for sharing all this great information. We've packed so much into an episode, but yeah, I think we're sufficiently excited about enjoying rosé this season. I mean,
Definitely.
it's just so versatile, as you said, very versatile and casual. You can open a bottle of rosé
Yes,
champagne and
yes,
enjoy it with something like pizza or burgers or barbecue or,
absolutely. Or even
something
charcuterie.
delicious.
You know,
Charcuterie,
I
oh,
was talking to
exactly.
Ariane Dagan from D'Artagnan. We're actually going to
Oh
do
my
a fun
gosh.
event together around Bastille Day.
Okay,
Like, and it's
you're
shocking.
blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, it'll
I
be
can
shocking.
imagine how fabulous you two doing an event together. Is it going to be a virtual event?
It is going to be a virtual event. Yeah,
Okay.
and then it will be champagne and charcuterie shocking, which is going to be fun.
Okay. All right. Everyone's going to want to know about that. You might have to do it a couple of times.
Absolutely. No, I'll send you the link when it's being
Please
done now.
do. Oh, that's so
It's on July
fantastic.
13th.
Wonderful. July 13th, folks,
Yeah.
and I will keep
The
you
day before,
updated.
yeah, the day before
For
Bastille Day.
Bastille Day.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I know we love to celebrate Bastille Day too. It's
Yeah, and the good
fun.
news is that it's going to be events from July 10th to 17th, so stretching it out.
Great.
A
Oh,
lot of different events
wonderful.
happening. Yeah,
Wonderful. Oh, it's so nice chatting with you and hearing like good news and focusing on pleasure and enjoyment, which we can really all really use right
definitely.
now.
Definitely.
So And is there anything else you would like to add before we?
I would say that, when with this pandemic situation
Yeah.
that happened, which at first is like a shock and a bad one, and still terrible consequences for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I feel terrible for my restaurant friends because
Yeah.
it's really rough. However, somebody said one day, never let a crisis go to waste.
Mm-hmm.
It's a chance to reinvent yourself and to do things differently, maybe, since you have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Which is what got me thinking at the very onset of the crisis. I sat down, I said, Rita, you got to change. You have to do things differently.
Yeah.
If you don't change, things won't change. So I set out to do these virtual events because I know that the internet and the digital space is where everything's going to happen
Yeah.
increasingly, and now by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of these events, which brought me closer to a lot of the consumers, and some of them, a lot of them,
Yes.
old clients of La Caravelle, and
Yeah.
Spain aficionados. And my events are always have fun. You learn things, but it's always fun. First of all,
Fun.
fun,
I love
because the
that.
last thing you want when you're in your house listening to the news, the last thing you want is more lectures and serious stuff, and you know,
Amen.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. Well, right. And you're the queen of reinvention. You seem to be extremely good at it. So, right, that's a great message for everyone, especially people in the hospitality industry. I know when
Yes,
all of my wine events got canceled, I've been doing a lot virtually. And it's so nice when the people who you've been working with for years, show up for you. And is there
absolutely.
anything for you, any message you would like to give to people like customers as to what they can do to kind of help people in the hospitality industry, like their local restaurants or wine shops or anything
Definitely.
like
A lot of restaurants are doing takeout,
that? Yeah.
and delivery, and also the ones that have the wine list and the
Hmm.
champagne, they are allowed to sell for takeout and delivery as well.
That's
So
right.
that, and I mean, any way you can support
Yeah,
restaurants, because this is a bunch of hardworking people that got hit, I think, more than a lot of other industries. I mean,
absolutely.
it's just it's so hard. So
Yeah.
yeah, support as much as you can by ordering, by do, if they have events, follow them, buy from them, go visit the
Yeah,
terraces that are open. But please, everyone, be safe and wear a mask and social distance,
absolutely. I'm so
because
glad you mentioned that.
that's really
Yeah.
critical.
We have to think of others and keep everybody healthy.
Absolutely.
And I love all of your messages today. So everyone, go out there, support your local wine shops and restaurants, and really, go forth, enjoy some fabulous rosé champagne, especially. And let me just touch base. Is La Caravelle available in Florida yet or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
However, there's a lot of stores that can ship everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Um,
I'm going to put that in the show notes as
Yeah,
well for
and
people.
actually, we have a website that is launching like as we speak
Oh,
in the
good.
next day or so, and I list them in there wherever you can find. We work a lot with Acker Merrill; they can ship everywhere, and then we're just going to
Yeah.
start to work with Wired for Wine.
Okay.
Um,
Great.
so that's really a website also,
Great.
and Sherry Lehman. I mean, all these companies have
So
websites.
there's ways. And I
There's
think by
definitely
now everyone has become experts on acquiring things
definitely
online.
yes.
And so I'm sure, and folks, you really want to try, I've sampled all of your wines at other points in time and they're fabulous. So
Thank you.
folks, you definitely want to explore these wines. They're delicious. And,
we we also have in the Cuveninia, we have half bottles,
oh,
which have been
good.
very popular.
I bet.
It's like it's easier. It's so cute. First of
Yeah.
all, that baby bottle is
Oh,
so
I
cute.
know, especially when there's champagne in it.
Exactly.
And the price range, are we talking like what are
I
similar?
mean, a bottle of rosé,
Hmm.
around $38, $39,
Yeah,
which is really
that's
that's
very
very affordable.
reasonable.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
For the
hovering around.
quality in the bottle,
I
it's
think.
exceptional. Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Absolutely. Well,
you.
thank you so much for joining me
Thank
today.
you for having me.
What
Thank
a
you very much.
pleasure to have you. We've really packed so much. I really hope people listen to this episode. Feel free to forward it to people who you think might enjoy learning a little bit about Rosé Champagne. And to access any of the resources mentioned in today's show, head to my website at theglamorousgourmet.com/episode 25. And if you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. I've got lots of fabulous food and wine fun to share with you in the future. And thank you so much for tuning in today. Thanks.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.